Imagine you woke up 5,000 years ago feeling pain like you'd never felt before. Maybe an inflamed tooth, a deep wound, or a high fever that won't go down. Today, the solution is obvious. Go to the hospital or the pharmacy. But back then, there were no doctors, no hospitals, no antibiotics. No one even knew what bacteria was. A simple cut or infection could end your life. And yet, humans survived for tens of thousands of years before modern medicine. How did they manage? Strangely, the story begins before Homo sapiens itself. About 5,000 years ago, actually much earlier, there was another type of human called the Neanderthal. For a long time, people thought they were just primitive hunters, but modern discoveries changed that idea. When scientists analyzed the tartar buildup on the teeth of some Neanderthal individuals, they found remnants of plants like chamomile and yarrow. These plants aren't good food sources, they taste bitter, but they're known even today to help reduce inflammation and stomach pain. Their choice of these plants wasn't a coincidence. Clearly, they were observing nature around them. If a plant relieved pain, they remembered it. If a plant caused illness, they avoided it. Over hundreds of years, these experiences turned into knowledge passed down generation to generation, the first step on medicine's journey. But plants weren't the strangest thing ancient humans knew, because there was a surgical procedure that, if I told you it existed 7,000 years ago, you might not believe it. Imagine someone drilling a hole into a living person's skull. This procedure is called trepanation, and it's considered the oldest documented surgery in history. At first, scientists thought the holes found in skulls were caused by war wounds. But after examining the bones, they discovered new bone growth around the holes, something that only happens if the person survived after the procedure. Some lived for months, others for years. In some skulls they found more than one hole, meaning the same person underwent the operation multiple times and survived. This shows that whoever performed it wasn't experimenting randomly. They had experience, knowledge, and a method passed down from those before them. Even stranger, these operations weren't limited to one civilization. Skulls with the same procedure were found in Europe, Asia, and South America, meaning humans in different places, with no contact between them, arrived at the same idea independently. But not every ailment needed surgery. Sometimes all that tormented a person was a toothache. Today, a simple visit to the dentist solves the problem, but about 9,000 years ago there were no dentists, no anesthesia, no metal tools. Yet scientists discovered something astonishing at an archaeological site called Mehrgarh in Pakistan: teeth with very fine holes. Under a microscope, they found these holes were deliberately drilled using a simple tool made of flint. This is the earliest known evidence of dental treatment in human history. Even more remarkable, the teeth showed signs of healing, meaning the patient survived after treatment. Imagine someone drilling into your tooth with a stone tool 9,000 years ago. Surely painful. But it seems the pain they suffered before treatment was far worse. This tells us something important. Ancient humans didn't wait for illness to go away on its own. They experimented, learned, and searched for any way to ease pain. You might wonder, if they had no science, how did they know a treatment worked? The answer is simple: observation. If someone tried a plant and their pain eased, they remembered it. If someone died after trying another plant, people generally avoided it afterward. Every experience, whether it succeeded or failed, became a lesson. Over the years, these lessons passed between generations, maybe around a fire at night, during a hunt, from a mother teaching her daughter, or from an elder who had seen more of life than others. This may have been humanity's greatest advantage, not physical strength, but the ability to learn from one another and preserve knowledge instead of starting from scratch each generation. But everything we've seen so far doesn't compare to the discovery that puzzled scientists more than anything else, a discovery that came from a single man in 1991. Two hikers were walking in the Alps when they saw a body emerging from the ice. They assumed it belonged to someone who had died recently, but the truth was far stranger. This man had lived more than 5,000 years ago. Today, we know him as Ötzi. Because his body remained preserved in ice all this time, scientists could study details never before seen in any ancient human. One of the first things that caught their attention was the markings on his body. More than 60 tattoos. At first, they assumed these were mere decoration, but when they analysed his bones, they found he suffered from joint inflammation and pain. Strikingly, most of the tattoos were located directly over the painful areas, leading some researchers to believe they were part of a treatment method rather than simple drawings. The surprises didn't stop there. When they examined his stomach, they found a type of fungus known even today for its antibacterial and antiparasitic properties. They also discovered he was in fact infected with parasites in his intestines, suggesting a strong possibility he was using this fungus as medicine, not food. This shows that ancient humans didn't just treat visible injuries. They tried to find treatments even for illnesses they couldn't see. But no matter how much experience they had, one thing frightened them more than any disease: wounds. Today, if you get cut, you might wash it and apply antiseptic and that's it. But thousands of years ago, a small scratch could turn into an infection that ended a person's life. Yet humans discovered a remarkably effective natural treatment: honey. Many civilizations applied honey directly to wounds. They didn't know what bacteria was, but they noticed wounds treated with honey healed better and had less inflammation. Today, modern medicine confirms honey has antibacterial properties, and it's still used in some medical dressings. Honey wasn't the only remedy. In many places, people used willow tree bark to relieve fever, headaches, and body aches. Thousands of years later, scientists discovered that willow bark contains a substance called salicin, the substance that became the basis for developing aspirin, one of the most famous medicines in the world. An idea that started from a tree. And here you start to see the full picture. Neanderthals knew medicinal plants. Humans performed skull surgeries and succeeded. Dental treatment existed 9,000 years ago. Ötzi used fungus and tattoos to deal with his ailments. Honey and willow helped humans fight wounds and pain. All of this happened before hospitals, before laboratories, and before the discovery of germs thousands of years earlier. But perhaps the most beautiful part of the whole story is that medicine didn't begin in a university, a king's palace, or a laboratory. It began with an ordinary person, someone in pain who tried something from nature, then noticed it helped, and taught others. The next person added a new experience. Then a third generation improved it further. Over thousands of years, these simple experiences accumulated and became the foundation of the medicine we know today. So, next time you take an aspirin, visit the dentist, or put antiseptic on a wound, remember, you're continuing a journey started by people who lived thousands of years ago. They had no instruments, no laboratories, not even a scientific explanation for what they were doing. But they had one thing: curiosity. And that curiosity laid the first stone in the history of medicine.